diagnostic testing, it can be impossible if you're in a rural area or just not near a clinic. But Guy, you've come up with a way to kind of give continuous testing. Why don't you tell us what we're looking at here?
This system, the KG system, is built in order to do continuous diagnostics, continuous urinalysis. And the idea behind it is that's 100% passive, which means that a person uses the toilet the same way that they've been using the toilet since they've been 2, and the same way humanity has been using the toilet for 3,000 years. They just urinate anywhere within the toilet. And as the urine is falling down, we're actually doing sampling horizontally at 500,000 times a second.
Oh my God.
And when we're doing it at that speed, we're able to do analysis on the molecular structure of the urine in real time. So as the urine's falling, we're checking out what are the molecules that are inside the urine. We're also able to see like the volume, the color, the frequency, the pressure, and all these characteristics together, along with all the molecular structure. It gives you a very, very granular profile of your urine. So what actually ends up happening is we're taking this baseline of your urine and we're looking at it over time. So we're able to track your systems, your body, and we're able to start noticing abnormalities that are happening. And then we're able to do early disease detection. So for example, UTIs, urinary tract infections, or kidney stones. We're able to notice these things weeks before you start feeling the symptoms. Because what's the problem? You go to the doctor when you're not feeling well, but that's too late.
Yeah.
You want to catch it before. So we're not preventing, we're just early detecting, which is early curing, which is cheaper to cure. It's a fantastic way to live, so you don't have to ever feel sick. Because if you get a kidney stone and you're able to catch it before, they can give you antacids, take care of it. Or, if it's a urinary tract infection, just take antibiotics, take care of it. If you don't, you could be hospitalized. If it's an older person, they could be hospitalized for weeks as a result of this stuff.
And it's very nice because it's transmitted in real time. I assume there's some kind of Wi-Fi connection.
Absolutely. So the device has both Wi-Fi and it's got Bluetooth as well. So we use the Bluetooth initially to do identification of the user. So this device that you're looking at right here, this is set and made for the elderly population. And so what we're doing is A, we're raising the seat a little bit, and B, we've made some special adjustments that are needed for the elderly. There is a fingerprint to urine. We use it all the time in our labs. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be setting up a situation where the person kind of registers one time, they urinate into the toilet. Grandma urinates in the toilet. She registers that she's the urinator. From that point on, she doesn't have to do any more authentication to the system. We'll pick it up based on her urine on that fingerprint.
So you don't have to carry a Bluetooth phone with you as your identifier.
You don't have to, but as this gets out and starts going out to the rest of the world, we expect it to be in office spaces and in gyms and stuff like that. And those places you do have your phone with you. And when we're talking about urine kind of fingerprinting, it doesn't really give a good solution for like mass places. Like, you can't go to the airport and it will pick up who you are. But if you do go with your phone, then your phone uses the Bluetooth and it will identify itself to the toilet and then the toilet to the server. And that way you don't have to pee in your own toilet. You can pee in any toilet because eventually they're all going to have this because it does such good for humanity. And, so we expect it to be all over the place.
Yeah. And one of the things that's really cool about this is there's a lot of technology in there, but it doesn't sound like it's expensive technology.
Yeah, exactly. So what makes this thing special is the sensor is pretty simple. Right? We talk a lot about the sensor because that's what people can see. The real hard part and the intellectual property is really the AI and the data science that's happening in the background. The sensor's made out of off-the-shelf components. We're not inventing anything new here. We're buying all this stuff, not like from Alibaba, a little bit higher than that, but not much. And so we're buying the stuff for very cheap. So the device itself, the bill of materials, the cost to manufacture is only around $50. So we're hoping this hits the retail at about $100. And then there's a monthly subscription. Again, the hard part is doing to diagnose the data or to detect from the data. And for that, we're doing this a monthly subscription. There's different packages. So just a regular monitoring package is one price. We're doing sports coaching, which is like another price, and so on and so forth. But it should be available for everyone. We hope it gets to all around the world. Like you said at the beginning, for rural areas, it's a real problem. We're used to thinking, okay, we go to the doctor whenever we need to go to the doctor. But there's places in the world where people don't get to go to the doctor. And so this way it brings kind of the doctor to them.
And so from a data standpoint, I mean, you're talking pretty low data rates, right? You don't need a huge broadband connection for this, do you?
Well, when you're measuring at 500,000 times a second, the data does get big. The files get big. The rate of exchange, to the server doesn't need to be high. We've actually increased the processor size here to compress the file as much as we can to reduce it. Yeah, because it became kind of big. Yeah. So we reduce. It's about a meg per file that we send up to the cloud.
And is that so? One file per use?
Urination. Yeah.
Well, that's not too bad. A megabyte.
No. Yeah. So we expect people urinate about 5 to 7 times a day, and then we say, okay, there's 4 people, so it's 20. It's about 20 meg a day.
But on each use, it'll actually transmit the data in real time, right?
Yeah. And then if someone doesn't have Wi-Fi, so in that case, we do a pairing to their phone, and then we'll use the data through their phone.
Okay, which can make sense if you're going to another place that has one of these toilets, right?
Well, yeah, but yeah. So if the toilet itself isn't connected to the residential Wi-Fi, yeah.
And so, what's next for you guys? Does it have to go through FDA, or what happens?
So there's 2 main things that we're doing right now. So one is we're launching our product in the Netherlands. Already on the 1st of March, we're going to be selling our first units in the Netherlands, and we're going to start both gaining experience in selling, because so far our company's really good at making technology, but we don't know anything about selling. The other thing is that we're starting to do is we're doing our regulatory for both the European CE, and we're doing a pre-submission for the FDA. So we'll start the FDA process. The FDA process is a 510K, so we should be finished within about 6 months, and then we can start selling in the United States. We're also developing our kind of next, it's the next version of the product. It's not the next generation, but next version. The next version is going to have, instead of all this plastic up here, this big kind of chunky footprint, it's just going to have the sensor parts, and it's going to sit on the rim of the toilet. So it's just like detergent or those water,
like a little attachment type thing.
Yeah. You just clamp it on, and that's it. It doesn't have all this, and you just use your regular seat. And we're going to come out with that sometime again in the middle of the year, and then we'll have to go through the manufacturing routines and stuff like that. So somewhere towards about Q4 of 2022, we'll have more of the B2C, for the general public.
What about the power? How does it get powered?
So, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a little drawer here on the side with the battery.
Okay.
That battery needs to be charged once every 3 months. The idea is for it to be really, really passive, the whole system to be very passive, so you don't have to use it very often. You have to really interact with it often. So you have to charge it once every 3 months. And it's just a regular, take your phone charger, plug it in, and charge it up.
Okay.
The system's off most of the day, right?
That makes sense.
It's only when you have the motion sensor in the front, when it detects motion, that it actually turns on. Other than that, it's sleeping.
That makes sense. And from your business model perspective, do you see licensing the technology to others?
Yeah, so we're looking at white labeling it. We're working right now with a company called Geberit, which is a very large toilet manufacturer in Europe, out of Switzerland. And they're already interested in starting to manufacture their toilets with this built inside their toilets.
Nice.
And then it would be just a white label, so they won't even know that we're inside.
Okay.
We're also working with other partner type products who do analysis of the data that we provide them.
Okay.
There's a company here called Vivu.
Oh yes.
For example.
I have one of their strips.
Yeah, exactly. So you have a strip. So they're interested in getting rid of the strips because that's a real problem for their business, both logistically and accuracy. They have, those strips are not very accurate.
Right.
And they want to use our thing instead. So then, Vivu's biggest problem is that they give you 2 strips per month. So you open the application twice a month every time you pee on the stick, if you remember to do it, right? Versus if someone pees every single day, 5 times a day, they can actually open the application often because things are changing often, So we're working with those kind of companies as well to diagnose the data that we provide them.
Would you be interested in working with broadband service providers? They already package things like streaming TV and other things.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's a huge channel for us. You know, anyone who uses data, or the IoMT market is so big. It's growing to be $123 billion this year. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities for kind of piggybacking on different type of packaging.
Well, the really cool thing about this, it sounds like you have the hardware in there, and then it's a matter of software in many ways to add new capabilities as far as what you can monitor, right?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. So the system is polluted with a tremendous amount of noise. There's something called SNR, which is signal to noise ratio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The SNR here is completely horrific, right? When I first started this business, I went to a bunch of these PhD professors, whatever, and they just threw me out of the building. They're like, there's no way you can do spectroscopy in an open environment. Kind of the few that kind of said, okay, maybe it's possible if you measure fast enough. When I said to them, by the way, the sample's moving and doesn't have a geometrical shape, they just laughed me out. They're like, dude, it's impossible. What we actually have developed, forget the urine, forget all that.
Right.
What we've actually developed is a platform that can increase signal to noise ratios on fluids and movement. Okay, that's what we have in the most general term.
By doing it with artificial intelligence, I guess, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And because of that, the Israeli Water Authority are invested in our company, and they're invested because they see it as a great opportunity to just do water analysis. I get a call once a week from some water company that's looking to do wastewater quality management or whatever it is, because this is really hard stuff.
Well, this data could be very valuable if you can aggregate it, I'd imagine, as far as them understanding their system.
Absolutely, absolutely. They're pushing water hundreds of miles, and they want to make sure that every couple of miles the stuff's not leaking into there. And it's a big deal. And so there's a lot of diversification strategies that we're looking at. We're trying to stay super, super focused right now on urine, on a diagnostic. We're kind of shying away from wellness, even though it's a huge market in wellness. Dietary, workout, all that kind of stuff. Those are huge markets, but we're trying to stay very focused on diagnostics, very focused on urine, but we are getting pulled from a lot of different directions.
Well, and I'd imagine just the cost, the numbers you're talking about is probably what you'd pay for one diagnostics at a regular lab, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And then, if you're looking from an insurance perspective, if a woman gets, a 75-year-old woman gets a UTI and she's hospitalized for 2 or 3 weeks, right? Versus if she just takes antibiotics. Right. Or a man, if he gets kidney stones, he's, an 80-year-old guy, he's hospitalized for 2 or 3 weeks.
Right.
So the cost of curing, and then it's not only that, it's that if a man gets kidney stones or a woman a UTI, I'm just giving those examples, but the number of symptoms they get, so women, at those ages, they get dementia when they get it. They get, fever. They can't eat. They can't drink. They can't walk. They have 1,000 symptoms that you're dealing with, and then you're also dealing with the UTI versus just dealing with the UTI
and trying to figure out where it is. Right.
Exactly. So we've heard horrific stories of people who were misdiagnosed, especially with corona, right? Because you go to the hospital today. 95% you're going to the corona section right away. It doesn't matter what you have. Right. You got something in your eye, you're in the corona. But now to diagnose those things is difficult, and if you're misdiagnosed, it's the consequences are dear. Well,
maybe you can kind of take us through the company itself and how you got started and what's driving it.
So I kind of say that if a technology leaps over the evolutionary curve. What's an evolutionary curve? So, you used to get your emails on your computer, right? And then it went down to your mobile phone, then to your watch, and to your glasses. All of them are great. I'm addicted to every one of those things. But those I consider evolutionary curves. Something that skips over the evolutionary curve only happens when you have some real personal story or drive that pushes you to get out of the evolutionary curve. And that's kind of what happened to me. So my background is in management. So I manage companies. I was actually living in London, where my family was in Israel. And my mom calls me up one day while I'm in London, and she's like, "Hey, listen, I've been diagnosed with ovarian cancer." It's like, crap. So you're so healthy. How can that be? You run, you play tennis. A few surgeries later, and then she starts chemotherapy. And what do I know about chemotherapy? I don't know anything, right? The only thing I know about is that there's all these kind of side effects. and you're waiting for these big, terrible side effects. And I find myself calling home, 3-4 times a day to see how she's doing. And who am I talking to? I'm talking to my beloved brothers and sisters, and I'm driving them crazy. Because all I want to know, is she walking? Is she eating? Is she drinking? Is she okay? And, it took 2 weeks for them to say, it's lovely that that's important, and she's important, and that you care for her, but, either stop calling or come home, but we can't continue this way. So I said, all right, well, I really love London. It's a really fun place. And they're like, so I started looking for technology. I'm like, oh, this is crazy. It's 2017. There must be something out there that can monitor her without having to call home. There's got to be a simpler way. Except for smart watches, so I could see heart rates and maybe footsteps, there was nothing out there. And I'm thinking to myself, that's crazy, because anyone who's my age has parents that are plus minus their age. I hope they're all healthy, right? But there's a lot of chronic diseases out there. And, here's just a kid who just wants to make sure his mom's doing all right, And that's really what drove me to start looking into this, because I was like, okay, well, A, there must be a huge market, but B, this is really needed, because it's a lot of stress to live with your mom. Your mom's in that condition. It's a lot of stress for her too, because she kind of just wants to make sure that she's being monitored. And who's monitoring her? No one, So I dug deep into it, and it was clear to me that it had to be, optics. And if you look at the way we designed the system, we designed it for a 74-year-old woman. So she's always, in our mind. Mm-hmm. So we know that it has to be completely passive, because my mom, with all due respect, she's not going to change anything to nourish my curiosity, She loves me and all that, but that's, she's not going to change anything. So it's got to be completely passive, completely simple to use, so they don't have to do anything to change any aspect of their life, because they won't. And that's kind of our guiding principle. It has to be easy to assemble, easy to take off, easy to clean. You don't have to do anything. That's everything that we're trying to do, is keep it as passive as possible.
And you financed this yourself, or through angels, or?
No, so we financed it through the Israeli chief scientist, is one of our big investors. The Israeli chief scientist is kind of like, it's a government organization that's made to finance high-risk type projects, because no one else will. Yeah. So they do. It's hard to get their financing, as any government stuff is like this much paperwork. So, but we did, and we succeeded. We got that money. And then after that, we started getting financed by some private investors. And then once we pretty much got the prototype in place, I must say, it's not that the skies opened up and money fell on us, but it became a lot easier. Sure. We have very, very large companies looking into, we have insurance companies, we've got toilet manufacturing companies chasing us down. So we're in a really nice spot. It was hard work to get there, but I think that we're kind of reached that spot where it's easier for us to find financing. And
I imagine manufacturing you'll have done elsewhere, obviously, right?
So we're starting, obviously we want to do manufacturing as cheap as possible with the highest quality. And that's really what we're focused on. So where we do it, we don't really care, as long as it's inexpensive and the quality is good quality. Right now we're doing it out of China. We have some consultants that are helping us communicate with our Chinese manufacturers. We're actually looking at maybe moving it to the United States. And we're getting pricing that seems to be very competitive. It's easier for me to work, in local, even though I'm from Israel, still it's in English, so it's easier for me. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I wish you luck. This is such a great project, and it's going to help many people in the world. So thank you, guys.
Well, thank you.